Over a year ago, I made a fighting game garbage talking about Q in Third Strike, and like most of my older videos, I don't like it. I don't think it's terrible or anything, but I'm significantly happier with what I do now, and it's always bugged me that one of my more popular videos was one that I could have done a way better job on, and that I really don't care for now. So today, I want to do this character justice. I want to show off a bunch of cool techniques that he has that I didn't mention in the previous video, along with some little tips and tricks that I've gathered in my time playing the character since then. Let's start off with the big one, Kara command grab. The first one was the normal one and the second one was the Kara one. As you can see, the range is insane. If you're familiar with Q, you're probably familiar with his amazing Kara throw, which is performed by Kara cancelling back medium punch. In terms of throw range, it's tied for the best in the game with Chun-Li. The main thing that makes it worse than Chun's is the fact that you're Kara cancelling back medium punch, which means you can generally only go into back throw. This isn't always ideal, such as when you have the corner, but still it's a great tool for Q to have. You get significantly more throw range at the cost of an extra frame of startup and having to do a back throw for the most part. Kara command grab on the other hand is an entirely different beast. Q's command grab is performed with half circle back and kick. So you'd think the input for Kara command grab would be half circle back, punch, then kick. But this doesn't work in practice because it overlaps with quarter circle back and punch, which gives you high speed barrage. More commonly known as slaps. For the longest time, it was thought that Kara command grab could only be done after a parry. This was the case because you could buffer back medium punch during the parry, and then input command grab to cancel the first startup frame. When it comes to doing a normal Kara command grab, you have a number of options, but personally this is the input I find easiest. When this was first found, I saw a lot of people talking about a slow half circle forward into half circle back, and I've also seen some people use this input, which personally I've had no luck with. But no matter how you input it, there's no getting around the fact that this is really difficult, and only the very best Q players are going to be doing this consistently in a match. Personally, I've never pulled this off in a real game, and I don't think that's going to change. The reason the input is so complicated is because you essentially have to start the input for slaps and then get locked out of being able to do the move at all. You're essentially starting a quarter circle back, then starting a half circle back, and you're holding down back until you're locked out of the quarter circle back, and then by the time you go from down back to back, the quarter circle back is off the table, but the half circle back is still good. You're essentially fucking up a slaps input and squeezing a half circle back in there somewhere. I think. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Now while this is quite difficult, there is a bit of a silver lining. If you mess up the input for Kara command grab, chances are you'll get medium slaps instead. Oh, now I fucking get... But yeah, a lot of the time messing up the input will give you medium slaps. And honestly, that's not that bad. Medium slaps is a genuinely good poke, so you're not putting yourself at massive risk by fishing for this. So as cool as it is, there's no denying that doing this consistently is really difficult, so don't get too hung up on it. As neat as it is, don't get frustrated. You don't need this to enjoy playing Q, especially if you're a new player. If you're trying to learn this game with Q, then you've got a lot more to worry about than whether you can do a Kara command grab. Go play Ken or Dudley for a bit or something, I don't know. Also, this is more of a fun fact than anything else, but in my many failed attempts at doing Kara command grab, I discovered that Kara universal overhead exists. Here's the normal one. And here's the Kara one. I'm sure a lot of people knew about this, but I didn't. It's pretty neat actually. The range is really good, although you can't use back medium punch for the Kara, because you can't do universal overhead while holding a direction. So you have to use stand medium punch. Here's another trick with command grab that is luckily way easier to implement into your game plan, and that's cancelling close jab into command grab for a tick throw. It works on both hit and block and is best used with the heavy version of command grab. It can work with light and medium, but the problem is they're faster than heavy. Light is frame 12, medium is frame 13, and heavy is frame 14. Heavy will work no matter the cancel timing, but early cancels will whiff if you use light or medium, because they'll attempt to grab the opponent out of hit or block stun, which is a no-go in Street Fighter. Also, bear in mind that close jab whiffs on a lot of crouching characters. Unfortunately, this is the only normal you can really do this with, because it's Q's only cancelable light normal. Although it has very little recovery, so if you're going for this, there's a good chance you'll grab them anyway. Surprisingly, where things get a little messy is versus another Q. On hit, everything works fine, but on block, not so much. Q's strange unique weakness of taking more block stun than every other character kind of inadvertently helps him here. While standing he takes 1 extra frame, and while crouching he takes 2, which will cause heavy command grab to whiff. Moving from command grab to dash punch, here's a really simple trick that I love using, and that's charge petition dash punch. All you're doing here is splitting up the charge for dash punch and doing something that would usually break charge in between, in this case a backdash. So what you're essentially doing is doing like 2/3 of the charge for dash punch, backdashing, and then finishing it. What's nice about this is that when people see Q backdash, they usually assume he's doing it so that he can build some space and potentially safely get a taunt up. So they'll usually try to chase him, and in this case, dash punch can catch them trying to chase you down. This works with a forward dash too, but I don't think that's nearly as useful. Another nice thing about this trick is that if you mess it up, all that really happens is you whiff a normal. Which is especially non-consequential if you're doing jab dash punch, because you just whiff a jab. I really appreciate this as a Urian player, because, god, doing a neutral jump every time I fuck up a charge petitioned headbutt, it fucking hurts, dude, it really does. This one's less of a technique and more just advice, because it's something that I think is really cool that I didn't understand for the longest time. EX dash punch is most notable as a combo extender, because you can juggle after it. However, there are situations where you can't juggle after EX dash punch because you've hit the juggle limit. You'd think this would always be a bad thing, but despite that, you do see people intentionally go for this from time to time, and for the longest time I didn't really understand why. The key here is the knockdown. Even if you can't juggle afterwards, EX dash punch still causes a wall bounce, which gives you plenty of time to safely set up a taunt, and you're still relatively close to the opponent afterwards. They can quick rise this knockdown, but they're still pretty close to you, and again, you're completely safe to go for a taunt. I'm not sure why I never understood that for the longest time, when the idea of sacrificing a juggle after Super 2 to get 2 safe taunts was just perfectly fine to me. Next, we're going to talk about something which is extremely important to Q, and those are double dash punch juggles. The damage here is fantastic, so it's really important that you get these down. If you're just learning how to do these, it might feel like you don't have time to build charge for the second dash punch, but trust me, you do. See, rather than going from down back to forward and punch for the dash punch, what you want to do is you want to go from down back to forward to down back and punch. This way you still get the dash punch, and you're immediately holding down back and building charge for the second one as soon as possible. Double dash punch combos are not only quite character specific, but they vary a lot depending on where you are on the screen. So let's start with what you want to do when you're mid-screen, but not near the corner. Against these characters, you want heavy grab, medium dash punch, heavy dash punch. For Oro, Ibuki, Yun, and Yang, you want medium grab, medium dash punch, heavy dash punch. Versus Q, you want heavy grab, medium dash punch, medium dash punch. Against Remy and Hugo, you unfortunately can't do traditional double dash punch combos unless you're near or in the corner. You're particularly limited versus Hugo, who I don't think you can even get light overhead dash punch on. You just settle for one dash punch unless you spend the bar and use EX, either medium or heavy. Heavy does more damage, but I'm pretty sure you can only get a cross-up version, which launches in the other direction. For more universal stuff, you can settle for a single dash punch, usually medium. Juggles with light overhead dash punch from either medium or heavy grab. Or you can just spend the bar and use EX dash punch from either medium or heavy grab depending on the character. If you're closer to or in the corner, command grab, dash punch works on the entire cast. I'll leave the different variations for the cast in the description. Now if you're going for double dash punch combos in the corner, I'd personally recommend charging with back rather than down back. It might just be me, but it feels a little bit more consistent versus some characters, like my dash punch will whiff less or cross them up less. If dash punch does cross up, it launches them out of the corner, which is typically unideal. Against some characters it doesn't seem to make a difference though. It is possible to combo off a dash punch launching the wrong way with a reverse dash punch, but the charging is very tricky. I've gotten a bit more consistent at it over time, but again, this is one of those things I doubt I'll do in a real match. To wrap things up, here's a bunch of little things that I probably should have mentioned in the old video, and maybe I did actually, but I'll be real, I fucking hate watching my own videos, so I'm just gonna kind of assume I fucked it up. I'm pretty sure that in the old video, the only jump normal I pointed out was jump heavy punch. And it's an amazing normal, there's no way around it. It's great as an air-to-air, as a jump-in, but Q has a lot of other great jump normals too. Both neutral jump and diagonal jump jab are active for Q's entire jump. And they're both decent anti-airs. Q's anti-air options are not amazing, so having something like this is potentially nice. Jump medium kick is also incredible. It's great as a poke or most notably as an air-to-air. If you land it as an air-to-air, it's a great opportunity to set up a taunt. Jump heavy kick is also fantastic. It's very slow, but it retracts your hurt box before it hits, has a massive hitbox, and knocks the opponent down on air-to-air connect. It's also just your highest damage jump-in. Now I know for a fact I mentioned this in the old video, but I'll mention it here because it is important. Q cannot be grabbed on the ground when going from a crouching to a standing state. This is really useful for a lot of reasons. What I didn't mention in the old video is why this happens. In this state, Q's throw box doesn't like disappear or anything, it's actually airborne. So you can't ground throw him, but you can air throw him. Realistically, this will never come into play in a real match, but it's kind of funny. I already mentioned how depending on how you go into it, it's impossible to juggle after EX dash punch, but the same also applies for Super 2. In situations like this, you'd rather safely set up a taunt. I'm pretty sure that in the old video, I was just like, Super 1 and 2 are both good, don't pick Super 3. But in fairness, Super 2 is generally preferred nowadays. Supers that just do a shit ton of damage in one go are really valuable in Third Strike, where you can just get one miracle parry and then boom, you kinda win. But yeah, Super 2's damage is just really hard to pass up, and the fact that it's really fast is nice too, because it gives you more ways to land it compared to Super 1, such as linking after universal overhead or overhead dash punch. Now Super 1 is still decent in its own right, you can stock 2 of it which is nice and it gives you more meter to play with, and while it's slower than Super 2, the extra range does help in certain punishes. It does have its issues though. The side switch is kind of annoying, and the big issue is that you just have less ways to land it compared to Super 2. The fact you can't juggle into it properly really sucks. Even if Super 2 is generally considered better nowadays, at the end of the day it's up to you. Some players prefer Super 2, some prefer Super 1, some mostly use Super 2 but recognize 1's value in certain matchups, and I knew one guy who only played Super 3, and believe it or not, they don't play Third Strike anymore. So, yeah. Personally, I pick Super 2 in every matchup, but Q isn't my main, he's just a character I play on the side for fun. If I mained Q, I'd probably put a bit more thought into it. Lastly, here's a tip for Super 3. By pressing T on your keyboard, you can open Fightcade chat and profusely apologize to your opponent for picking it by accident.